So I watched this video on YouTube, and it was a term that this woman used for this particular type of abuse. And that term is called benevolent abuse. Benevolent abuse. And she went on to give different types of scenarios, as to what would make benevolent abuse bad. So as she was going down, the list of all these types of things, I'm just like, damn, that shit just lines up with what I experienced in this relationship. And like I said, this was the only relationship that I ever experienced this particular thing in, this type of behavior in. Like, nobody else that I ever dealt with treated me in this type of way. So benevolent abuse is like when he does things innocently, nice gestures, disguised as helping you and doing things because I love you, and it would seem to other people like, he's a good guy, and he really loves you, or he cares about you, or that type of fairy tale type of situation. But when I look at it, it was 1000% covert abuse. And I don't know if he knew what he was doing, but all of the things that were described in the video, it just lined up perfectly with what I experienced with him. So I dealt with somebody who was very helpful, who did things because they felt like they were helping me out, giving me things that they thought that I needed when I didn't need it. But I can't say that's true 1000%, because there are certain things that I needed that I'm just like, oh, this is thoughtful, this will come in handy. But the majority of the times, it's just like you're loading me up with stuff that I don't need. I don't have a use for it. And if I do, I'm probably going to use it one time and that's it. There were things that, like I said, somebody on the outside looking in would think it's caring and thoughtful, like the idea of protection and safety. When somebody plants ideas in your head, and in your mind, you are actually taking these things into consideration, but it's like they're not telling you what to do, but they are hinting at what you shouldn't do by telling you this is not safe. Questioning certain things about how they would do things. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, now I'm filtering things based on what he wouldn't do against what I would do, and I would adjust based on what he felt he would do. And so a lot of the times I found myself filtering myself through him and what he would do, or how he would handle situations, and the ways that he would think about things. And this is where I found myself becoming very small and forgetting about myself and forgetting about my true needs, my thoughts, my wants, my desires, because everything is being filtered so that way he doesn't look at me in a disappointing or disapproving kind of way. So I'm thinking like, okay, maybe it's pleasing to him. Meanwhile, if I'm doing something naturally, now I'm not doing it naturally because it will go against what he thinks is proper and just. And this is how things started to become over time. Another thing that she mentioned in the video was arguments. A lot of the times, there were no arguments. in the beginning, I thought it was normal because I'm like, okay, we have a good relationship. We have communication is good. I guess it's fresh and new, but we didn't have a relationship dynamic to where there would need to be arguments, like we knew how to talk things through. We can discuss things and come up with a better solution. And even then, it's just like, it was still like covert when I think about it. But back to the arguments. When it comes to the benevolent abuse, there are no arguments, right? There's no emotion. There's no arguments. There's no emotion. There's no like discontent. And if there is discontent, it's not shown. It's hidden. So it's like if something was wrong, he wouldn't express any type of rage or deep emotion, like outwardly, so everything was just kind of like hidden under the surface, like very surface level, but below the surface. It's like everything was like operating below the surface. So on the surface and above the surface, it would appear that nothing is wrong, but things would be wrong. Like things would be like something would be happening there, but you just can't quite put your finger on it. So when it comes to the arguments, it's like when there was an argument, because of the lack of accountability, and not admitting when you're wrong or not apologizing when you are clearly wrong, because in your mind you think that what you're doing is justified, so you can't think that you're wrong, and so there's no need for apologies, because in your mind you rationalized it. If there was an argument, it kind of never went anywhere. Like it was discussed, but there was no real resolution, right? And so it just kind of like went into a gray area, and things never got resolved. Things kind of just stayed there hovering, below the surface. So no real like change ever occurred. It was just there. It's just weird. But this is benevolent abuse. This is benevolent abuse, like that good guy type of thing that guys do when they think that they're doing innocent things, but in reality, you're getting into her mind and you don't think there's anything wrong with what you're doing, but it's like you're chipping away at her, chipping. And this was the dynamic a good majority of the time. This is the dynamic, And that's another thing that I remember too. It was just when someone asks you questions out of curiosity because they might be concerned about you or they want to understand you better. I experienced that. That is manipulation. They don't want to understand you better. They don't. I dealt with that. That like, you don't want to understand me. You want to judge me. You want to judge me. So it's like benevolent abuse is like caring. It's like caring concern. It's like disguised as caring concern. But it's really like you want to judge me and you want to find things to use against me. It's really weird. These are the things that I experienced. As I remember things, this benevolent abuse is just really like hit the nail on the head. And I think it's valid. People don't talk about these things or they don't know how to describe these things. But this, I'm sure, will answer a lot of your questions when it comes to what you are experiencing, but don't know what to call it, how to label it, and what to make of it.